Let's design a drug. In this video, we will learn about a few important biological pieces, functions, and applications. We'll start out by discussing peptides and proteins. We will learn what peptides and proteins are, what they're made of, and we will learn why they're so important. Stay tuned to the end of this video where you will learn how you can design your own drug and test its effectiveness. The human body can be reduced into smaller and smaller pieces. For example, our organs are made of tissues, which are made of cells. You can continue to reduce this all the way down to the smallest component, the atom. In this discussion, we will focus on macromolecules. These are just collections of molecules. Two of the most important categories of macromolecules are proteins and peptides. Proteins play several important roles in our bodies. Some of these roles include helping to digest food, fight diseases, provide structural support, regulate the expression of genetic information, and transport essential molecules across the body. Each fundamental function in the human body requires a specific protein. That's why it's so important to learn about the proteins. But what is a protein? Smaller segments of proteins are called peptides, which are made of amino acids. In general, a peptide can contain anywhere from 2 to 50 amino acids. But remember, a protein is just composed of many peptides. So proteins typically contain around 500 amino acids. The properties of the protein and peptides are determined by the amino acids that they're composed of. To learn more about proteins, peptides, and amino acids, check out the summary video. We've talked about proteins, but why are peptides important? Not only do peptides make up proteins, but similar to proteins, peptides also play an important role in biology. They help with food digestion and to improve tissue regeneration in the body. They are also able to kill bacteria and fight cancer-causing cells. Because of these properties, peptides are commonly used as drugs. Insulin is one of the most common peptide drugs, and it's used to manage diabetes. Peptide drugs are often used to fight other diseases as well, such as HIV, cancer, and osteoporosis. Proteins are made of peptides, which are made of amino acids. So amino acids are the building blocks of nature. There are 20 amino acids found in proteins. 11 of these are produced in the human body. They're known as the non-essential amino acids. They are non-essential because the body does not need to get them from an outside source. It produces them on its own. The remaining 9 are known as essential amino acids because it's essential to get them from an outside source, such as food. Whether the amino acids are labeled essential or non-essential, it's important to remember that they're all necessary for biological functions. Protein and peptide structures can be very complicated, so it's not practical to represent them by the atoms as you would a small molecule, like H2O. Instead, proteins and peptides are represented by their amino acid sequences. To further simplify, each amino acid is represented by a unique letter code. For example, R represents arginine, I is isoleucine, S is serine, and F is phenylalanine. You can see how the letter code simplifies things. Each amino acid has a different structure, resulting in different properties. For example, some have a positive or a negative charge on them. These are called charged amino acids. Some amino acids have rings of carbons in them. These are called aromatic amino acids. Some amino acids can be characterized as polar or nonpolar. When we generate peptides or proteins, we can combine these amino acids in any order. The sequence determines the properties of the generated macromolecule. At this point, if you try to picture a peptide, you're probably picturing a motionless chain of amino acids. That's what we've told you to picture. In reality, peptides are not motionless at all. They have motion, and it's due to the interactions with themselves and their surroundings. This dancing peptide is made from 10 phenylalanine amino acids. To generate these movies, first we need to do a molecular simulation. This just helps us visualize how a peptide may behave in real life. There are many methods and theories behind molecular simulations. The most common approach is to use Newton's equations of motion to move the molecules. So how do we know which peptide works? Let's imagine it's 2020 and we want to develop a drug to fight COVID-19 as soon as possible. How could you find the right peptide for the drug? You may have already figured out that there's no limit to the number of possible combinations of amino acids. So it's not practical to experimentally synthesize and test every combination. This is time-consuming and expensive. So wouldn't it be great if there was a way to predict the properties of peptides before synthesis? This is a large, open-ended research problem. A popular approach is to use molecular simulations of peptides along with machine learning to predict the properties. The basic idea is you type in an amino acid sequence into your machine learning model, and it will tell you the properties of the peptide. Our model predicts an antimicrobial score and an antiphalanx score. A high antimicrobial score means that the peptide may be a good option for attacking and destroying unwanted microorganisms. You can think of antibiotics or antifungal chemicals. A high anti-fouling score suggests that the peptide may be a good option for keeping unwanted microorganisms away. For example, boats use an anti-fouling paint to keep things like barnacles from attaching. Antimicrobial drugs fight and destroy microorganisms, and anti-fouling drugs keep them from attaching and repel them. This is how we can narrow down to just a few peptides with the desired properties and synthesize just those for testing. Let's check out an example. First, come up with your own amino acid sequence. You can choose from the 20 amino acids by picking them from the blue letters shown here. The blue letters are the amino acid letter codes. If all the letters in your name appear in this list, then your name could be a peptide. Now that you've chosen your amino acid sequence, let's try to predict some of its properties. To predict the antimicrobial and anti-fouling properties of your peptide sequence, go to the website shown here. Next, enter your amino acid sequence. Now you can see the anti-fouling and antimicrobial scores you get for your amino acid sequence. A high score means it's good for that purpose. If you want more instructions on how to use the website, please check out the instructional video. And if you'd like to have a cool video of your molecule dancing, send us your amino acid and we'll send you the video of it dancing.